What's this initiative? Give a spot for people to call.
As soon as it started hearing back.
I was up, have great filter.
Ready?
Yeah.
We are reconvening from closed session. Welcome to the open session of July 21st, 2020, regular meeting. This time we're reconvening from closed session where direction was given and no action was taken. Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could, it's with great sadness that I have to announce to the council and to those that may be viewing that Sherry Bunker passed away in the last 24 hours. So, yeah, I felt it would be appropriate that Sherry was somebody who cared about the city, who was always here participating, and was a part of our extended family here in the city council. So if it's appropriate and the council would be willing, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Ms. Bunker.
I'd also like to recognize Representative John Lewis, passed away this week. At this time, we'll observe a moment of silence for council member, community member, community activists, community dedicated individual Sherry Bunker and Representative John Lewis. Thank you. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Can we get our microphones on, please?
I have Councilmember Hatley as the first on that and Thompson as the second.
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley?
We're just adopting agenda, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
At this time, we're going to open the meeting up for public communication, the hearing of non-agenda items. Are there any members from the public that wish to speak?
Mr. Mayor, I did not receive any written communication. I know that the city administrator is looking for anyone outside.
There are no members present, Mr. Mayor.
Having no one that wishes to speak on the public communication item, we will close that at this time. And we are looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar. Councilmember Hatley expressed interest in pulling items number 5 and 6.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question on this. I have absolutely no interest of any sort, monetary or any other way, on item 5 over this ground lease.
Councilmember Hatley, may we adopt a consent calendar with items 5 and 6 pulled, and then
absolutely.
and then we'll comment?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to respectfully request 2 and 3 be pulled. for a brief comment, not 2 and 3.
Looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar with items 2, 3, 5, and 6 pulled.
I make a motion, we adopt the consent calendar minus 2, 3, 5, and 6.
I second.
Councilmember Pittman,
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
Councilmember Draper,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Councilmember Hatley, you pulled items 5 and 6. Do you wish to comment, sir?
Oh, thank you.
Councilman Hatley, if I could, I recognize that both of these items are close to your primary residence and also to Vice Mayor Thompson's. If you would like for 5 and 6, if it would make you more comfortable, you can recuse yourself from the items, but you do not have to.
Well, the thing is, anytime anything around the airport, I always have, just so nobody could say anything. I do not have any, but I do live in that area, so I would be more comfortable continuing on doing what I've always done, and that is excuse myself from those 2 items.
And your reasoning for recusal from those, from both 5 and 6 is because your primary residence is within the, is close to those.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm going to go with that too.
You're going to go with that? Okay, so at this time then, I guess what we would do is, Councilman Hatley and Vice Mayor Thompson will be asked to leave, and we would hear 5 and 6, and then we'll come back to 2 and 3. Is that adequate, Mr. Attorney, that their primary, their recusal reasons are their primary residence are in close proximity?
Yes, if they appear to be within a reasonable close proximity. The rule that strictly says, within a certain footage distance has not been the rule. It's more of a, if there's proximity and it could impact their decision-making, then that's appropriate.
All right, thank you. So just so the record will show, we still have a quorum. We have Councilperson Smith, Councilperson Goodson, Councilperson Draper, Councilman Pittman, and Mayor Reynolds present for these items. Number 5 is a minor amendment to the ground lease with Vista La Mesa and Graphic Packaging International just to adjust the leased lines of the property. It's a action that we have to take, and what we're essentially doing is we're reversing who has which larger piece of property out there, because there was a error in the original lease and the names got reversed. So we are asking to amend that item at this point. Financially, nothing changes, and the lease remains intact.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Are there any
I do not.
questions? Are there any questions from the public?
There are no public members present, Mr. Mayor.
Having no questions, I'm looking for a motion to adopt item number 8892.
I move that we adopt 8892.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Pittman,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley has recused himself, Councilmember Draper,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson has recused himself, Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
The motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
Item number 6, Mr. City Administrator, do you wish to comment?
Yes, sir, just real briefly. Item number 6 is requesting adoption of 2 resolutions for 8890. It's a resolution of the city that is going to establish the West Side Safety Facility. You have 2 CFDs in the, I'm going to say the airport part of town, which is over in Thermalito. It's going to be on the west side out near the golf course. The CFDs are community facility districts. Those facility districts have been established to collect dollars to one day build a West Side Safety Facility in that area of town. There's monies that are collected from each of the residents in the subdivisions that live out there. Each year that's done annually through their taxes. There's 2 different funds here. One will fund the building that the public safety people will be within. The other one will pay for the public safety people themselves. for their salaries. So what we're asking the council to do is to authorize the mayor to sign the Proposition 218 certificates so that this can be placed onto the 2021 tax roll, and we will continue to collect those dollars until such time as we have an adequate amount of money to build a facility in the west side of town.
Do we have any questions on these items?
I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, how many years have we been collecting? Please refresh my memory. How long have we been collecting these special taxes, and approximately how much is in the account?
These taxes have been being collected since 2006. The balance in each account now is approximately $600,000.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Are there any other questions? Do we have any questions from the public? Having none, looking for a motion to adopt resolutions number 8890 and 8891.
I move
So
to
moved.
adopt Great. I second.
Councilmember Pittman,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley has recused himself, Councilmember Draper,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson has recused himself, Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
Mr. City Administrator, you had pulled item number 2.
Yes, sir. Item number 2, I just wanted to take a moment and thank the members of the OCEA, the OFFA, the OPOA, and the OCMA. These are all of our labor groups within the city. Each of the labor groups have stepped back from a contractually obligated increase that we had previously negotiated. They were negotiations that were necessary for the city. All of our employees recognize that. They recognize that for the betterment of our community, it was necessary for them to do that at this time. But we, must keep in mind it is difficult for them to do that because it is something that they were looking forward to and truly desired. So I just want to thank them. I want to thank everybody in the city. I want to thank our negotiator, our HR person. We have accomplished an incredible amount of work in a very small amount of time. So I just am very appreciative of our employees. I think that they exemplify what is best about our community, and I'm just very grateful for them. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, are there any comments from the dais? I would just like to say a simple thank you as well. Are there any comments from the public? Having none, looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8886.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Pittman,
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Draper,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson, Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. City Administrator, you also pulled item number 3 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, I just want to go over a couple things real quickly on it. There is on page 29, it's important for everybody in the community and for our council to take a look at that page because that will tell you what roads that we are going to be repaving this year. Earlier in the day, or yesterday, I received a very comprehensive Post-it note asking me what the hell we're going to do about the roads, especially Hilldale. I would encourage the individual to look at page 29, and what the hell we're going to do is repave that road. So I just wanted to pass that on to Mr. Sorensen, let him know that we are taking the issue seriously. This is a very aggressive road repaving, grinding, and resurfacing projects. So we are getting to these projects. A lot of these things are funded through SB1. We will also be doing some Measure U projects later this year. But anyway, I just wanted the council to be aware of this page and what roads that they can expect to see being repaved. These were the worst of our worst roads, according to our engineering staff.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to also comment on that. You know, I receive comments from the public, negative comments about certain things that they assume are not being taken care of, you know, with, and we speak on these items quite often in council meetings, and business is handled on a regular basis. If people don't have time to watch the council meetings, I can respect that, but you've got time for a phone call. Just give us a phone call and ask what is going on with particular items before you attack. And it might save a little egg on the face down the road. Are there any comments from the dais?
I have none.
Are there any comments from the public?
There's nobody present, Mr. Mayor.
Having none, looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8885.
So moved.
I move that we adopt Resolution 8885.
I'll second that.
For the record, I have Hatley as the first and Goodson as the second.
Okay.
Councilmember Pittman.
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley. Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Draper.
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson. Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open the meeting up for public hearings. And we have item number 7. Mr. City Administrator, is that you or is that Leo?
Be Ms.
Is that-
Nevers.
That's Ms. Nevers. Thank you. Mrs. Nevers, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. These items are the same items that were presented at the July 7th meeting. I apologize for my absence, I was ill. Again, these are the same items. The first item, item number 7, for the Landscape Lighting and Maintenance Assessment District, is for zones 1 through 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 15, 16, and 17. So at this time, because of proximity, we would like to ask Councilmember Art Hatley and Vice Mayor Scott Thompson to recuse themselves.
And I believe the primary reason for recusal is the proximity of their primary residence to
And
these.
I have a question. We have a couple of items, even if they're not in order, can we arrange them to where the council members only have to leave one time and we can take care of those items?
I would think that would be okay.
Yes. Okay.
So right now,
All right.
this is item number 7 that Councilperson Hatley and Vice Mayor Thompson.
And it would also be item number 9 as well.
Okay.
For the same recusals.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I ask a
Councilmember
question?
Hatley.
Yes, thank you. This is the Buttes, and that is further away. Now, when I looked at number 8, I would have to step away from the dais on number 8, and number 9 looks like, but this one, I'm not near Greyhawk. That's on the other side of the.
I have them backwards. I'm sorry. Actually, we would be recusing you from 8 and 10. I apologize.
Thank you, good catch. Councilmember Hatley.
Thank you.
So,
So if we could, Mr. Mayor, let's take number 8 first, and then we will follow up with number 10, and then Councilman Hatley and Vice Mayor Thompson can return and hear the other items.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for that confusion.
And again, the reason for recusal is proximity of primary residence of both council people.
Okay, having council members Hatley and Vice Mayor Thompson recuse themselves and excuse themselves, we are ready to move on with item number 8. Appreciate that. Thank you. So, are there any comments on this? It's simply a second reading. Having none, looking for a motion to adopt number 8896.
I move that we adopt resolution number 8896.
Second.
Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley has recused himself. Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson has recused himself. Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
Ms. Nevers, did you say item number 9?
10.
Item 10.
Item number 10. Okay, moving on to item number 10. Councilmember Hatley, Vice Mayor Thompson has recused themselves and excused themselves. If this is simply a second reading on this item, if there are no comments, we'll be looking for a motion to adopt item number 8894.
I move that we adopt resolution 8894.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley has recused himself. Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson has recused himself. Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
Yes, so for item number 7, it will be Mayor Reynolds, Councilmember Pittman, and Councilmember Smith. And for item 9, it will only be Councilmember Pittman and Councilmember Smith.
At this time, Councilmember Hatley and Vice Mayor Thompson have returned. And at this time, I need to recuse myself, so I'm asking Vice Mayor Thompson to handle this item.
We're back on 7.
Yes.
We're doing 7
And
individually?
it would be my primary residence as well, Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
Councilman Pittman, primary residence.
So 7 by itself?
7 by itself.
Okay.
And again, there's no one here for the vote.
Okay. Do we already have a report, or do we need to give a report before we go to vote?
This one also, item 7 is for the Landscape Lighting Maintenance and Assessment District, and this is for zones 1 through 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 15, 16, and 17.
Or any comments from the dais? Hearing none, we want to make a motion for this item?
I move that we adopt resolution number 8895.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Pittman is recused. Councilmember Hatley?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith has recused himself. Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
And Mayor Reynolds has recused himself, so the vote carries 4 yeses and 3 recusals.
And for item 9, Mayor Reynolds can return, with Councilmember Pittman and Councilmember Smith continuing to recuse themselves because of proximity.
Item 9.
10, I apologize. No, it's 9. It's 9, yes.
Okay, well, Cala Vista, that's by me.
Oh, so I had it correct the first time.
And
So it was
Lakeside.
only, it was 7 and 8 that I had backwards. I apologize. So it is item 10.
We're on item number 9.
Thank you. See, I'm backwards now.
So which one are we doing?
We're on item number
We-
9.
Okay, then I'd have to excuse.
But we did 2 votes. No. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Primary residence. How about this too?
Yeah, they live about 100 feet
Yes.
from each other.
Okay. So 9 is Pittman and Smith recusing themselves, and 10 is No, 9 is Hatley and Thompson recusing themselves. I apologize. We've already covered 7 and 8.
And 10.
And 10.
And
So
10.
we're on 9. So we need to redo this one because we had the wrong people out.
So this is a do-over on 10.
On
We need
10
to do
only.
9 and 10 over. Or we haven't done 9 yet. We need to do 10 over.
Smith is out on 9 and 10? Or 10?
Smith is out on 10 only.
Who all is out on, let's do them in order now since this is getting,
Item 9 should only be Hatley and Thompson because of the proximity.
Thompson, the record should reflect that Thompson and Hatley are not present. They're recusing themselves from the item due to their proximity of their primary residence.
That's correct.
We are on item number 9. Are there any comments on item number 9? Thank you. Being simply a second reading, I'm looking for a motion to adopt item number 8893.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Pittman.
Yes.
Councilmember Hatley has recused himself. Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Draper.
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson has recused himself. Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
The motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
Councilmember Pittman and Councilmember Smith. Yes.
Councilmember Smith, you need to recuse yourself from the next item, please.
I will recuse myself because of my residence in proximity.
Okay, we're on item number 10. And do we have any comments on this item? In a simple second reading of this item, we're looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8894.
Second.
Councilmember Pittman is recused. Councilmember Hatley.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith is recused. Councilmember Draper.
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson. Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
The motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 recusals.
Let the record show that all council members have returned to the meeting. We're moving on to regular business. Item number 11, request for designation of voting delegate and alternates for League of California Cities Annual Conference.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is the annual California League of Cities Conference where the league determines what are going to be the advocacy issues that they proceed forward with and what are the feelings of the cities that participate in their, as it helps them formulate their legislative advocacy plans. This conference is going to be a little different. Normally it occurs most times 1 year in Long Beach, the next year in Sacramento. This year it's going to be a virtual conference. So what we're looking for today, there is no travel expense associated with this because it will be done virtually over the computer. There will be a registration fee that I have not seen what that is yet. I'm not really sure they know what it is because of this being a virtual conference. So what we're looking for is if the council is interested in authorizing 1 to 3 council members to virtually attend this, which means they would essentially be, going on to, it's either going to be a Zoom type of a meeting or some sort of virtual presence at these meetings. One of the members that do attend this will be the voting delegate for the city that will vote on the issues for advocacy from the California League of Cities. So what we're looking for is the council interested in assigning somebody to this? Is somebody willing to take on the task? And if so, who are they and how many people would you like to assign?
I'd like to comment
Bill, I
on
have
this.
a question.
Excuse me, Councilmember Goodson. I'd like to comment on this item. Councilmember Smith and I went to this, I believe it was in October, and I'm, for one, am glad that it's virtual because I wouldn't vote for spending another dime on this. It was a complete waste of money. It looked like a big blown-up vacation for everyone, and I thought it was a waste of time. All of the classes that we went to were not informative of how to run a city. They were very, very political, and I would not vote for one dime to go towards this. Councilmember Goodson, do you wish to comment?
Oh, yes, thank you. Bill, can you tell me currently who are the council members that have been assigned to the League of Cities Committee?
Last year, the members that were assigned was Councilperson Smith was the voting delegate, and Mayor Reynolds was the secondary.
Was there not a reassignment later on?
I do not believe that there was a reassignment for that particular item. I would have to pull the list and see. I don't believe that we normally assign somebody to this. I can check and see, though I don't have that in front of me at this time.
So it was my recollection that when committees, there were certain committees that had been reassigned, and to my knowledge, Mayor Reynolds was the primary on that, and Councilwoman Goodson was the alternate.
If you would like to give me a second, I can run to my office and check.
Yes, thank you.
Give me one moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Councilperson Goodson, your memory is accurate and appreciated. The primary is Mayor Reynolds. The alternate is Councilperson Goodson, according to the finalized 2019-20 committee assignment list.
Thank you, Bill, for checking on that.
So the council can, if they so choose, if Mayor Reynolds chooses not to be the voting delegate, the alternate would be Vice Mayor Goodson, and then you could appoint, or the council could, or you could appoint Mr. Mayor and then have it affirmed by the council who the other delegates would be, if you so choose. Or the council could also make the decision, we're just not going to have a presence. But that would have to be by consensus of the council by vote.
Yeah, I'm, like I said, I don't even know what our involvement with this entity is, because when I went down there, it was very, very radically political and very, very one-sided. So I don't really see any benefit for a nonpartisan council to participate in something like this.
The benefit that staff receives from the League of Cities is, something that's called the Sac Valley City Managers Group and things like that. It's an opportunity to hear what other cities are doing, to participate with other, myself, for instance, would be city managers, city administrators, especially as we go through the COVID situation. How are they addressing issues in their city? How are they handling them? So there's an advantage to us for that. They also have legislative advocacy when groups come or issues come that confront cities, such as loss of funding and revenue. They've been an advocate for the cities to get revenue dollars into the cities that were smaller than, I believe it was 500,000, because the dollars that came into the state for cities over 500,000 went directly to those cities. The cities that were under 500,000, it had to have a model and be dispersed to the cities. So the league recently, that's just an example, was an advocate for that and for cities. So they do quite a bit of advocacy on behalf of especially smaller cities.
So you're telling me that you see a benefit in this?
I see a benefit for the city. Now as far as, I've never been to a League of Cities conference, so I can't speak to that. I can tell you that on the other side of it, they do keep us well informed of what's going on. Our local representative does, and the advocacy that they do at a state level for small cities is really a very good thing.
Mr. Mayor, could I speak?
Member Smith?
Yeah, just to add my comments to this conversation, I would concur with Mr. Legrone that the League of Cities really services more of your city staff, city management, and in particular the vendors, opportunity to look at different equipment, different items that would service the city, and that would be more in line with things that they would then come back and report to City Council or choose to purchase. But as you stated, there was a lot of political dynamics, toward the council or toward the mayors, and so I would concur with Mr. Mayor, with Chuck Reynolds on, kind of his assessment. But I would encourage that if there are other council members that are interested in attending, and I'm sure that probably changes from year to year, depending on what's driving the League of Cities and what's going on, at any particular time. But I'm sure that there may be those that would have an interest, and it's pretty straightforward because it's going to be online. So with that, there may be those that would like to attend it.
Thank you.
I would like to comment as well.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes, I had an opportunity to attend approximately 3 years ago. I felt that it was extremely informational, and as Councilman Smith has stated, that it is directly related, the seminars, the workshops, to what is currently on the radar on a statewide level. I was also a part of the founding committee for the rural communities, which is very important. A lot of times the rural communities slip through the cracks and they don't get the equal representation that they deserve, and they are found to be challenged by urban legislation. So I found that it was very useful, and I was, as if I did not state earlier, I was a voting delegate at that time.
Well, I'll tell you, in hearing Mr. Legrone, Councilmember Smith, and Councilmember Goodson's input of the benefit that they see to the city staff, I would be in support of it, of us attending it virtually. But like I said, I would not be in support of the city spending a dime on this blown-up vacation. So if that's what it is, Mr. Legrone, if it's virtual and there's no cost to the city, then I would be in support of it. Is that what you're telling me, sir?
No, what I'm telling you is that the only option is virtual, but the cost to the city, we don't know what the cost to attend the conference is because it is virtual. The decision to go virtual was made, I believe it was last Thursday evening or afternoon.
But
so we don't know
compared-
that cost yet. So there is no travel expense. There will be no flight. There will be no food. There will be no accommodations. So it will just be
So the
whatever
cost
the
will be minimal.
registration is. It should be much less than what it's been in the past.
Okay, if we have a couple of council members that are interested in this, speak up.
Yes.
I think, Mr. Mayor, that since if you're not interested, then it would fall to Councilperson Goodson and then anyone else that would be interested.
She's expressed her interest. Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
would you like to, you are now the voting delegate. Would you like to pick someone to attend virtually with you?
No, I don't know who else would be interested. So I will leave it up to that person.
Do we have another council member that's interested?
I'll make a comment, though, if I may. Councilman Pittman, the league conferences are kind of up and down from one year to the other. As the conference, they're good and bad. They just have been. I've been a part of it. The city's been a member of the league from going way back. They are really our only advocacy group to the legislature that we can feed on a group basis, because if they do anything with the city, the first contact somebody has is with the League of Cities. And the conferences for staff are very valuable. There's a fire chief's one, city clerk's one, planners. There's a whole series of those that deal with statewide issues. So the membership in the league is valuable. I certainly agree with the mayor that some conferences are good, some are bad. And it all depends upon what the topics are in that conference. And I think the value of having a representative and a voting member there is good. I like the idea of virtual, because I agree, I think a virtual conference can be satisfied very easily. In fact, I remember we used to only go to the Sacramento ones and not the LA ones. The Sacramento was just driving. You didn't have to, there was no housing cost or anything like that. So I would be in favor of the cost for the virtual registration and let it go at that.
Okay, well, having no one else that's interested, Councilmember Goodson, it looks like you are our representative for the League of Cities and our voting delegate. Thank you.
All right.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I'll prepare the paperwork and for your signature so we can get it off to the League of Cities within the next couple weeks. And Councilperson Goodson, I'll get you the follow-up information as soon as I have it, as to times and addresses and things like that where you can, for your computer so that you can be at the appropriate places at the appropriate times. As soon as I get it, I'll forward it.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Okay, moving, well, are we looking for a vote on that?
No, sir, we don't need one.
Okay. Moving on to item number 12, annual sanitary sewer service rates.
Mr. Mayor, what you have in front of you for this particular item is our annual sanitary sewer service rates. The rates are established by the city and also by SCORE. This year, the city is not proposing any sort of increase to the city collection rate. SCORE is proposing a $2 per month rate increase. It'll bring the annual or the monthly sewer rate to $39.41 for collection of the sewer. The purpose of this hearing tonight is to gather any information from the public or comments from the public regarding these rates. Also to have a resolution certifying that the sewer charges can be levied and placed onto the 2021 tax rolls and that we are Proposition 218 compliant. So again, just to reiterate, the city is not raising the sewer rates. Any increase is from the SCORE plant, the treatment plant.
Do we have any comments from the dais? Having none and having no one from the public here to speak, we're looking for a motion to adopt number 8887.
I move that we adopt Resolution 8887.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson? Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item number 13, consideration of resolution number 8888, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oroville, California, expanding the temporary use of property for businesses impacted by COVID-19. Mr. City Administrator, you wish to comment on this?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This was a lot of words to describe what we're doing. What we're doing is we're essentially authorizing people to conduct their businesses outside. What we have done is we've established a process so that a temporary use permit could be issued to the businesses that choose to do this. The businesses will be allowed to use the public right-of-way, which would be a sidewalk, a parking lot, something like that. If they choose to use the city-owned property, they must provide us insurance indemnifying the city and naming the city as an individual that will be indemnified in the event of an accident. To utilize this program, one of the things that must be completed by the business owners is we've created a small packet that gives them information regarding what's going on, what our expectations are, what they should be looking for, and it has a brief application on the back. It asks the information of where it's going to be, and it requires a sketch. This temporary program is an attempt to assist our businesses through this pandemic because the stage 2 openings that have occurred are now being rolled back because of the spike in coronavirus cases that is occurring in not only Southern California, but it's moving toward rural Northern California. So what we're trying to do is offer some options for the businesses. The businesses must be compliant with their ABC license. They must comply with ADA restrictions. They must leave a walkway on sidewalks available. They must follow the governor's executive orders regarding proper hand sanitation, mask, and social distancing. So we will be looking to them to self-police themselves on these things. There are some secondary things that we'll talk about in a moment that we're going to be doing for the businesses that choose not to police themselves for this or to follow these guidelines. One thing that the council must be concerned with and aware of is that we have signed certification, as all 402 other cities in the state of California have done, that we will comply with the governor's executive orders. That was done in order for us to receive the CARES Act funding that came from the government, from the state government, federal government to the state government to eventually a municipality. What that means to the city of Oroville is if we do not remain compliant with the governor's executive orders, we could lose as much as $240,000. So there's $250,000 riding on us, the community, and for the city to support and to follow the governor's executive orders regarding certification of opening and closing of businesses and things like that. What this does is this is in compliance. It allows the businesses to move outside of their normal walls. It requires them to have insurance in the event that they are on city property. It requires them to have a approval from a private owner of property that they move on to. It requires them to be compliant with their ABC license or any other license they hold to do their business. And it also requires them to ensure that public right-of-ways will be left open. This particular item is issued on a case-by-case basis. If a particular business comes in or is requesting to do this type of activity outside of the walls of their business and they are given this temporary use permit is good for 60 days or no longer than what would be the duration of the declared state of emergency. So what that would mean is that we would give it for 60 days. If something happens, a vaccine comes around or something happens and all of a sudden COVID just disappears off the face of the earth in 39 days, the permit expires at that point and the activities must cease outside and they must go back within the walls of the business unless they seek some other type of permitting to allow it to continue outside. If it goes more than 60 days, at the end of the 60-day period, what we would require is the business to just come in, notify us that they would like to continue, and if there has been no significant issues or problems or anything that's been occurring and it's working out and there's still a need, then we would just reissue for another 60 days, and we would continue to do that until the pandemic is under control and they can go back to their regular way of doing business. So we're trying to be as business friendly as possible. What we'll be doing is if the council approves this temporary use permit or this activity, we will be visiting the businesses that are already doing it because there's a lot of businesses that are already, they have no choice out of necessity. This is what they've had to do. We'll be visiting them, not for enforcement activities or anything like that, just to drop off this and ask them to please complete this, just so we know what's going on. So we know who we have out there doing different activities and who has moved outside the confines of their walls and into potentially public spaces and privately owned property. So generally, just to sum this up, the gist of this is that this is done through approval at the city administrator level. It comes in, they complete the application. If everything looks good, a recommendation will be made by professional planning staff whether this should be approved or not. Based upon that recommendation, it will be approved. If at some point the council decides that the council does not approve of a temporary permit that was out there, there is a portion of this that allows this to come back to the council, and the council will ultimately give further direction. So ultimately, the decision would end with the council if a decision was made by myself that you didn't agree with. So we do have some ways out on this. We can shut this off at any time. Something that is they're not entitled to. It's something that we're trying to do to help our small businesses because we recognize how they're struggling. We just want to do everything we can to keep them moving as best as they can.
I want to be clear about the, you say we can shut it off at any time. The only part that we would be shutting off is if they were utilizing city property.
If they were outside, well, if they're in violation of their permit, if they're outside their walls.
But the only permit would be to use city property, right?
No,
they can be on private property.
No, you cannot just move your business outside the confines of the walls into the parking lot. You would need to have a different type of permitting for that. I mean, so that could become an issue for you. I mean, and of course, I know we're all imagining now a parking lot with, 5,000 empty spaces around it. Somebody sets a table outside and we're going to say that's a problem. I don't think we're going to address it that way. We're talking about anybody, when you come in and you get a business for a permit, and let's just grab a restaurant as a hypothetical. Your restaurant is permitted for those activities inside the walls of the restaurant, not just to spill all over the property that you own until somebody finally says something. I mean, so it's permitted for the activities indoors there. Why this is necessary is if they want to move outside the confines of those walls, they have to have a use permit. I mean, and we would normally go through a process that would go to the Planning Commission, and then if the Planning Commission approved it and recommended it would be approved. If not, it could be appealed to the council, and that could take months. I mean, and we don't have that kind of time right now for our small businesses. Time is of the essence on this. So we're streamlining the process so they can do that. You're also confined in small business if you're doing, and we'll just use restaurant again, if you're selling alcohol. Your alcohol permit is for on site sale. What that means is that on site is the confines of the wall. If you want to go outside the confines of that business, even into your parking lot, you would be in violation of your ABC license, which would jeopardize the potential for you to sell alcohol. So it's, there's a lot of variables into this. What this does is this allows our businesses to be in compliance with all of those things and move forward and conduct their business.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments from the dais? Councilmember Hatley?
Thank you. Now, this would apply not just to restaurants, I know that's what we've mentioned, but this would apply to any business that, like downtown area. I know that we have a problem down there trying to get people down there to shop and that kind of thing. Would this also, can it be expanded so if we decide later on, if this shows that it's working and the businesses downtown that, like for Feather Fiesta Days, where we leave the main streets, Myers, Lincoln, and that kind of thing open, but the other streets, High and Robinson and that, Bird, block those areas off downtown like we do at Feather Fiesta Days, if they could move out to expand to give more social distancing, if we see that may work. And is that something that would take separate from this, or is this strictly just out to the sidewalk or their own parking lot? Because a lot of those businesses downtown, they don't have a parking lot.
I think right now, Councilman Hadley, we would have the flexibility with this to work with our businesses. And, no, it's not limited to restaurants. It could be, if you sell widgets and you need the space in front of the store and even into some parking, if we can do it safely to conduct that business so that, pedestrians aren't at risk of vehicular traffic striking them, or, and we have adequate distance for people to distance themselves from one another, then I believe, we could do that. I believe this provides us with the flexibility necessary to adapt to the situation, to help our small businesses survive through this pandemic as best we can. So if somebody comes in with an idea and says, hey, I want to put in some K-rail out here and we need to use the 15 parking spots that are normally only has 3 cars in them, I think that we would look at that, evaluate it. We would make a decision, and then, of course, we would come back to the council at that point, because any sort of large change like that, we certainly want you to be appraised of and aware of. And but we certainly could, with this, have the flexibility to do the things that you're suggesting.
Well, I'm just saying, that's because, like I say, some of these places, like downtown especially, where they're trying to make a living, and that's what we're supposed to be trying to help them do, and that's what this council has been doing, I think, and I just wanted to put it out there, so if it happens to come up, I mean, I don't have a problem with this, because, there's not a person that's not going to try and feed their family, and we can't let this kill our town.
Yes, sir.
Not this ordinance, but I mean this pandemic. So, to me, if it's reasonable and safe, I think we should look at all the options for our businesses.
Yes, sir, and I believe that, if the need is there and the request is made, we'll certainly, we will do everything we can to assist our small businesses. I mean, they are the backbone of our economy, and we need to make sure that we do everything that we can to help them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill, can I make a comment?
You may, Councilmember Draper.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that, the city is in a position here to really help the downtown businesses and then get $250,000 for doing so. So to me, it looks like a win-win.
I believe it can be.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to clarify there's no one here to speak to this.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments on this item?
And just for clarity, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
if the council approves this item tonight, it will go into effect immediately.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mr. LeGrone and all the city staff working on this and doing everything they humanly can to, make this as painless as possible, which there's obviously a lot of pain with this, and I know we all have our opinions on, how this is being handled, the small store, the small mom and pop store versus the large big box. And there's a lot of things that are happening that just certainly defy logic, and that's very unfortunate. And, of course, it politicizes the whole situation and just makes it that much more complicated. But, again, thank you, city staff, and I'm sure all the small businesses in town are very appreciative of just the attitude of wanting to see success. And so a big thank you from the businesses and from the Chamber of Commerce as well for doing what you can to help. Thank you.
And I think, Mr. Mayor, we would be remiss if we didn't recognize Mr. Ritchie because he did the heavy lifting on this. So, I would love to take credit for it, but Mr. Ritchie did the majority of the work on this, and I'm very appreciative of it.
Thank you. All right, having no more comments, we're looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8888.
Second.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 8888 as a very innovative idea.
I'll second that.
I believe Hatley is the second. Councilmember Hatley. Apologize.
Councilmember Hatley,
Yes.
Councilmember Pittman,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Draper,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson, Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Does the council have anything they'd like to announce or report?
I do.
Councilmember Smith?
Friday from 9 a.m. to noon, we will be distributing to all of our businesses that would like to take advantage both masks and hand sanitizer. Our plan is to actually distribute right there in front of the chamber to make it as simple as possible. I have some help coming from Alliance Workforce Training, and we will be distributing. I think we have about 30,000, although I've been out of touch the last couple of days because of a hog fire. I'm out of town, and I'm not sure where we are as far as supplies. I think I'd already distributed nearly 10,000 as of the other day. And but Friday will be a major distribution day as well. So any business that would like to take advantage of this, the way it works is that we give you one mask per employee for a total of 30 days. So you count up how many of your employees you have, and then do the math there. This is for businesses in our community of 25 employees or less, and so. I think that pretty much speaks for the majority of businesses in Oroville.
Thank you.
And I just want to add that these masks are at no cost. They're a no-cost program. It's part of the state's wider effort to flatten the curve.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Are there any other announcements or reports? Is there anyone who has any future agenda items?
I have one.
Councilmember Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sometimes we have incidents in other cities that we see about and think that it could never happen here. One incident I just noticed, there is a legal settlement on the fire in the city of Oakland. I think they call it the ghost ship fire. I'd like maybe someone in our staff, or maybe the attorney has information, or maybe the fire department could go down and visit the Oakland Fire Department as an example to gather some lessons learned from that incident, because the loss of life was, I believe, over 34. That building was less than a block from the nearest fire station, and I would hope to never see that repeated. But sometimes in order for it to make sure it doesn't repeat, we need to learn about it. And I draw the same comparison when we had the Oroville Inn problems and Reno had the Marzipan Hotel fire. Because we had studied that fire, we were successful in the other issues that came about for the Oroville Inn. So I'm just suggesting somewhere in staff or And maybe they have a class on lessons learned of that fire. I don't know. Generally, it won't be the host city because they're involved in litigation, but it'd be nice to know that they take some of the lessons learned in that particular fire and make sure we don't repeat them or follow those same issues, so.
Mr. Pittman, that city has recently settled that litigation for, I believe it was about $42 million with the families. That's going to be a difficult request right now because travel is not encouraged because of the COVID. So, but that is something we can certainly put on the radar. And, there may be a best practices or a virtual type of lessons learned from that type of event, because I believe too those types of events should always be reviewed. We hope they never happen here, but everybody hopes they'll never happen anywhere, and then they happen. So we need to be prepared.
Yeah, I just because a lot of things happen and we think it never happens to us again. But if we don't reach out and obviously that city would have to offer the lessons learned, and I don't know if they're willing to or not, but it would certainly be valuable to have it, and maybe even bring the suggestion up as a conference title. Be good to have.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other requests for future agenda items? Administration reports? Bill?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I distributed a couple of email chains to you earlier this evening. What I was giving to you was what is going to be the countywide unified response from the county and municipalities regarding businesses that are not compliant with the executive orders. The county, as well as all of the municipalities, are still taking an educational approach to this. There's not going to be a lot of heavy-handed tactics or enforcement or anything like that. It's still about education. What we'll be doing is a call center is going to be established at the county, and if it is, and I'm going to pick on restaurants again just because it's easy. If it's a restaurant that's not complying with mask wearing or social distancing and those different things that are required of us by the governor's orders, then public health will be visiting that restaurant to educate. To try to get the operators of the business to understand the necessity of the following the governor's orders. Now, whether you agree with them or you don't, it's still an order from the governor. So we need to follow those directions as they're presented to us. So we'll go from there. If it continues to occur, it will be referred back to the city. What the city will do from there, what we've done is we've established an email address, which is covidviolations@thecityoforoville.org. And we've also established a phone number that an individual could call in and leave a message about a business. Now, violations in the businesses, or violations is probably not a good word, but people not following the governor's executive order in the business, it's not the number of times that an individual calls. You can have 500 calls, but if it's still one incident, it's still one incident. After 3 incidents, we will respond and we will attempt to educate. We're not going to come down on anybody. We'll just give them the rules, let them know what the expectations are, and ask them to follow those rules. That number will be checked once a day by our code enforcement officers. They will keep track of the businesses, and the emails will be sent to our code enforcement officers, and we will keep track of them. We will try to gain voluntary compliance through education. So I wanted you to know, as a council, that we are still following the direction of education. We're not going to be running out there and getting overly heavily handed with individuals. We're still approaching this from an educational aspect. Until and in such time as there's a different direction given by the council, that's how we'll continue to approach this. I've provided you both email chains so that you can read those and get some additional information if you're interested in this. But that's what we'll be doing. So if you do hear that, that is what city staff is going to be, how we're going to be approaching this at this time. And again, we are working with the county and we're working with every other municipality so that we're doing this the same throughout the county. I have nothing else, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Lando? Leo?
Just briefly,
Thank you. Ruth? Nothing? Ms. Nevers?
Just a few items of note. Myself and staff have been working with our consultant for the development impact fee report. We have received a draft and we are reviewing it as staff and will provide our comments back to the consultant. Likewise, with our municipal services review, we should be receiving that draft report in the coming weeks. The tree RFP walkthrough was today. We had 5 contractors show up for that, or arborist outfits show up for that. So that was a pleasantly surprising outcome. The municipal auditorium also is progressing. The interior paint is near complete, and the stage curtains will be installed in the coming weeks. The sign code amendments are also being worked on with staff and the planning commissioners, and so those amendments should be going through the approval process with the planning commission and then come before this body in the coming months as well.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie?
Just wanted to thank Bill and also Councilmember Pittman, whose suggestion it was that sparked the crafting of the expansion of the business use permit program here. And I am appreciative of the opportunity to help you with that. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we, our next meeting is scheduled for August 4th. That conflicts with something that I have planned. So with the permission of this council, I'm respectfully requesting that we move the next meeting to August 11th, 1 week later. Can I have a consensus of that, please?
Works for me.
I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Joe Deal here.
Joe Deal?
I have some items to report out on, if I may.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chief. I didn't even know you were present. So, please report.
I just wanted to let the council know that the POP teams continue to make a difference in the city. And last month I pulled them off of their duties and assigned them to assist with the 2 murders that occurred in our city. They were very instrumental in that. We're very hopeful for an arrest on those cases in the coming weeks. They're now back to POP team activities and will be working into the evening hours starting next week. The other thing I wanted to report out is that a quick update on the 2 new radar trailers that the city purchased. Those went into operation on the 4th of July, and we discovered a problem with one of them, and the manufacturer's we've been in contact with the manufacturer, and they're sending out new parts, but one is operational enough. If I'm not mistaken, it should have been across from City Hall today, but I know it was on Montgomery somewhere, but it's being used in the city, and you should start seeing those.
Thank you, Chief.
Oh,
Is that everything?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. All right, with that, we will adjourn until August 11th, 2020 at 5 p.m.